Hey guys, I'm Jackson. This is my spoiler-free review for the new film Moana 2, the sequel to my favorite Disney princess movie and maybe my favorite Disney movie of all time, Moana. Now, just to be clear, I don't want to come across like some grumpy old man who's harshly and unfairly criticizing and critiquing a children's movie like it's Citizen Kane. That being said, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Because this movie was bad. Moana 1 is a perfect masterpiece of pure musical magic. Moana 2 is a lazy, uninspired rehash lacking the heart, the soul, and the music of the original film. Moana 2 was originally a straight-to-streaming TV series that has been repurposed into a live-action sequel film. Now, that is fact, and I'm going to follow up that fact with a little bit of theorizing. One might call it crackpot tinfoil hat style theorizing, or someone who's wearing said tinfoil hat might say, another fact. That second fact is that this feels like Disney, in a desperate attempt to recoup some losses, some financial losses that they might have made through terrible business decision making over the last, let's say, 5 years, or at least the last year or two, where they have been continuously putting too much money into projects that just won't make that money back, or simply just by making terrible movies. Sometimes both of those mistakes in one. And so they need to make some money. They need to make that money fast. So the people who are making the animation, who were writing it, who were making the songs, everybody involved for a very long period of time wasn't making Moana 2. They were making like a Moana TV show that was just going to be thrown onto Disney Plus that children will watch and the parents wouldn't even have to watch with them. So it is a different style of creative processing. And so everything I'm going to say from here, I'm not trying to throw shade to the people who made it on the creative level. This doesn't feel like a passionate group of filmmakers who had a new, fresh story to tell in this wonderful world of Moana, to expand the lore and mythology, and to push our characters into new territory and terrain. It just feels like a cynical corporate cash grab. They had this show that they were just going to throw out onto Disney Plus to vaguely remind kids that Moana was a thing, so that when they pump out their live action Moana movie that's coming out in a year or two, to remind kids so that when that movie comes out, they haven't forgotten entirely what Moana is. So they're like, well, we can't have it on streaming because everyone's still going to pay for Disney Plus, even if Moana TV show doesn't come out. So we'll put Moana TV show out in the cinema and call it Moana 2. And people will pay money to see it. And I just feel like maybe they've hurt their brand even more because it's a really terrible movie and I would not recommend anyone pay for this. You should just wait for it to come out on streaming. Or better yet, wait for it to come out on streaming and not watch it. And just watch Moana 1 again. If this film was like 6 20-minute episodes on Disney Plus, it wouldn't necessarily be better. In fact, it would be exactly the same, but at least I could watch it in the comfort of my own home, laying back on a Sunday afternoon, watch an episode or two, go, not for me, but hey, it's a Moana TV show. What did I expect? Turn it off and just rewatch Moana 1. Instead, I had to suffer through this Frankenstein TV show turned fake sequel hybrid monstrosity of a film that is never bad. This film is not a bad film. It is just so fine. It's so middling. It is so aggressively ordinary. This feels like a straight-to-DVD sequel, like we used to get for the OG classics. You know, like Aladdin 2, now his dad's here. Or The Lion King 2, now he's the dad. Nothing egregiously terrible, just very unremarkable compared to the classic iconic film. Like if I think about The Lion King, how many times have I seen The Lion King? Like over 200 probably. How many times have I seen The Lion King 2? Once. This film is that. But I saw it in a cinema, and in this streaming day and age, that just feels wrong. This isn't worth your money. Now, just to be clear, I am being very harsh. I'm aware of that. But I am comparing this and reviewing it as a sequel to Moana 1, which I think is easily my favorite Disney princess. I think the film is my favorite Disney film. It has easily the best Disney soundtrack. Everything about that first film is so magnificently perfect. It is such an overwhelmingly special movie to me. So yeah, I'm holding the sequel up to a certain level. If they had just released this as a show on Disney Plus, do you know who'd be reviewing it? Not this guy. Do you know who'd be giving it a pretty negative 2.5 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd? Not this guy, because I couldn't, because it wouldn't be on there. Unless it was a limited series, then it would appear on there and I would be compelled to watch it just so I could give a ranking. Just to get those Letterboxd numbers up, you know what I'm talking about? I don't have a disease, shut up. And so yes, I totally admit that I am holding it up to an incredibly high standard. Did I ever expect this film to even come close to how much I love Moana 1? No, of course I didn't. I would be insane to think that essentially any film will reach those heights. And so whilst I knew it was never going to be as good as Moana 1, I was still hoping, like a little glimmer somewhere inside me was hoping that this would at least be something. Something new, something interesting, something fun. It would maybe at least have one banger, one song where you're like, okay, the whole movie's worth it for that one song. Moana 1, the entire soundtrack is all bangers. Moana 2, 0 bangers. But has this ruined the legacy of Moana 1? Not at all. Will I just entirely forget that it exists? Absolutely. Honestly, its main redeeming feature is that it just reminds me of how truly special Moana 1 is, and how lucky we are to have a film that exists that is so wonderful. We don't deserve Moana 1. But let's be real, we don't deserve Moana 2 either. This is such a wild step down in quality in every conceivable way, but the two biggest issues are the emotion and the music. The emotion is there, technically, little glimmers and glimpses of it throughout the film, but they are all such shockingly, embarrassingly rehashed retreads of the exact same emotional beats of the first film, but lacking any of the depth or the true heart that the first film had. The first film was this beautiful coming-of-age story, finding yourself, like having to break free of your family and your parents, but never forgetting where you came from and rediscovering and emerging as like a person. It's a coming-of-age film. I said too many words. I love Moana 1 so much, I don't even know how to explain how much I love it. It's a good coming-of-age film. Instead, this film is like Moana. In this film, don't change. Don't grow. Don't do anything differently. What you did, you were good. You reached a point and you're good. Stay good. And then the movie ends. And the second biggest issue is the music. The music is never terrible. At best, they are forgettable, uninspired, and generic. But at worst, feel like pale imitations and ugly copycat versions of that style of Lin-Manuel Miranda that made Moana 1 so infectious and catchy and fun as a soundtrack. In the first film, The Rock's song, You're Welcome, makes me go, what? The Rock can sing and rap? What can't he do? Whereas in this film, The Rock's solo song, whose name I will never know, I kept thinking, so The Rock can't sing or rap? What can he do? So there's two villains in this film, one physical and one elemental. You know, like the first film. Are either of them fleshed out or developed properly? You know they're not. All of the new characters are pretty terrible. They are all deeply unfunny and painfully one-dimensional. They've all got a thing. One of them's like, I love The Rock. And the other one's like, I build the boats. And the other one's like, I'm old. And that's it. That's all we get. There's too many of them. There's not enough time. It kind of feels like those characters might grow on you somehow a little bit if it was kind of longer in a show, but they feel very much like show characters that you add on to movie established characters in a Moana TV series. Whereas from Moana 2, it's like, wow, I don't think we needed any of these guys at all. Our new goal for Moana could be something interesting. And that's what's frustrating. This probably could have been something very, very good. The goal and the plot feels like a natural extension of where she was at the end of the first movie, but it just doesn't feel like they do anything interesting with it. The goal and what she wants to achieve is interesting, but the journey she takes to get there is identical to the first film, except take away all of the drama and the tension and the stakes, which takes away all of the emotion. And then anytime there is emotion, it's just like, remember the first film? What if that again? It's not even the biggest disappointment of the year. It honestly can't break my heart to be the biggest disappointment of the year, because if I'm being truly honest, it's too ordinary to break my heart. Because to break my heart would mean this film made me feel anything.